Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thomas, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
And if you stick around later in the episode, we will be greeted by Kristopher Pistole on the Oscars this past weekend. So stay tuned for that little segment, and it'll be fun, it'll be informative, and it will be entertaining.
I haven't seen barely any of the movies.
And so we're rectifying that. So next week, come back here for our Joker Babycast review. And if you haven't, go earlier this weekend, watch my review of Birds of Prey, the Babycast there for you. So Daniel, we're back. We have a few things on the plate before we get into the Oscar stuff. We have Picard, we have The Outsider again. Of course, we're going to kind of touch base on those. But we also have some more Star Wars news. And indeed, we got to start Star Wars, right, baby? So,
right, baby.
Rian Johnson was quoted this week by saying from MTV, "It made me so proud about Rise of Skywalker and seeing the heart and soul that J.J. Abrams put into it, and seeing my friends who were in the movie just bring the whole thing to a conclusion. Yeah, for me as a Star Wars fan, it was a really special experience."
I think two things here.
Right.
I think one, Rian Johnson seems wholesome enough to maybe actually say this and mean it.
Right.
And I do think being a filmmaker and making big budget Hollywood films has to give you a very different perspective on movies in general.
Right.
I think you appreciate different things. You know what I mean? And it maybe I'm sure you're just more oh my God, they made it. They actually got the movie made, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
And you're just in awe because you're like, oh my God, it happened. It happened.
Well, I think this
at the same time, I could see this totally being out his ass too. I mean, what you do? What else can you?
He's not going to say anything bad.
Exactly.
But I think you're right though. I think whether he left or not is kind of irrelevant. You're never going to really know that. But I think just another example of why Rian Johnson. He's just a classy director and He's been classy throughout the entire thing of the Twitter rampage.
He's been incredibly classy. I mean, he's handled that with.
He really has. And have you seen Knives Out yet?
I have not.
You need to. It's nominated for Academy.
I know. I mean, it's on my list of
I was
things
expecting
that
it. It was a good.
Not seen and should feel bad about.
Yeah, you need to watch it. It comes out pretty soon on Blu-ray if you get a chance.
Okay.
This month, actually, I believe, or maybe it's the beginning of next month.
Cool.
Yeah, so we mentioned Birds of Prey earlier. Let's kind of talk about that real quick. So this weekend, the movie was projected to open about $50 million. And then 50 million. And then Warner Brothers kind of come in as studios typically do, and they say, well, our expectations are about 45 million. They kind of lower expectations, though. When it actually breaks 50, they're like, oh, yay, it did it. Well, it actually kind of came about 35 million this weekend, 33, 35. So it had an overall worldwide gross this weekend about 80 million. I think the only major market it has left is Japan. So
I don't see it being a huge hit.
I don't either.
Market
I don't either, actually. So
myself.
I think it's going to be one of those things like it's not as big as they think, and that kind of led to the studio sending out the information to the theaters that kind of update their ticket kiosk or whatever, online shopping, all that good stuff, to the change of the movie. So it was called Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, and now it is titled Harley Quinn: Birds of Prey. And they said that we're doing this, and they kind of had an official press release today. We're doing this so ticket buyers can find the movie easier on their apps.
I actually kind of believe them.
Oh, I believe
because
I just don't know if it's a good thing.
First title is a mouthful.
I like the title.
I do like it, but it's not PR friendly. It's not advertising friendly. It's not billboard friendly. It's not poster friendly. You know what I mean? And here's the big thing. People are identifying this with Harley Quinn.
Right.
And so it makes total sense to make that because otherwise people are like, well, I'm looking for the Harley Quinn movie. And they see Birds of Prey and may have no idea that that's what it is. You know what I mean?
I guess we'll see if this, the ticket sales, how much they drop. Typically for a film like this, it's roughly about 50 to 60% drop, typically closer to 60. If it's anything below 50, then I would say from that moment on, it actually worked. But we'll see, because anything below 50 is really good hold on the box office. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I don't know. I don't really. I feel like people are smart. I feel like moviegoers are smart enough to know there's a Harley Quinn movie. Like,
I think you're overestimating how smart some moviegoers are. Maybe I think we live in Arkansas, and no offense to Arkansans, but we got some dumb people. Okay.
And when
there's some people that when they talk about movies, they talk about it in generalizations and stuff like that. I mean, I think there is a large portion of the audience that just doesn't even check what's on, just goes to the movie theater and picks something, potentially. I think it's just because I think it's hard because we're so opposite of that, and we're kind of running in circles that are opposite of that.
Right.
We just don't have the exposure to those types of audience goers. But I do believe they probably are a huge portion of box offices and stuff like that.
Well, speaking of, I can see that point. Speaking of DC, we also have news that Shazam 2 with Zachary Levi is coming back, and we're shooting over the summer in July, and also The Rock's Black Adam is also shooting at the same time in July. And as you know, Black Adam is traditionally a Shazam villain. He's like basically one of his arch nemesis kind of thing.
But he's a good guy too.
They're kind of billing this as like he's gonna be an anti-hero because it's The Rock.
Yeah,
which I'm not a huge fan of. I kind of wish that just give him a cool superhero instead of giving him Black. I don't know why his obsession with Black Adam is. I still haven't figured this out yet. But
The Rock loves him. Apparently,
God, he has. He's been talking about it for years. It feels like. So they're both coming out. So I suspect the crossover. There was kind of there was mention of Black Adam kind of in Shazam 1, and I wonder if we'll get like
the true crossover.
Maybe not in the movie, but like at least something like maybe Black Adam will appear in the after credits scene finally or something like that. Have you seen Shazam yet?
I have not. I want to.
Man, that's one thing. I'm going to bring it to you so you can watch it because I really like that movie a lot. So speaking of again comic book news, one thing that really happened like basically right after our podcast, I believe, we talked about. Did we talk about Sam Raimi directing? I don't think we did.
No, we haven't talked about that. Well, it happened right after.
Right. Okay. So, Doctor Strange, Into the Multiverse of Madness. We know originally it was going to be directed by Scott Derrickson, who directed the first movie. He also directed movies like Sinister, and I think it's I can't think of the movie, the horror detective film. I can't think of it right now with Eric Bana.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it came out after Sinister. So he's out, and there's been rumors circulating that Sam Raimi will be directing this new Doctor Strange movie, which will go into principal photography. I cannot talk. Principal photography in I think May or June of this year. So it's a quick turnaround, right? Yeah. And they said that they haven't even got a script written yet. Like Scott Derrickson didn't even write. And you're doing a movie with like the multiverse.
But here's the thing: it's Marvel. They have a thick ass Bible that has a very detailed plot summary of what has to happen.
I'm sure
writing a script for this won't be that difficult.
Well, here's the thing for me though, and like it took me a little bit to kind of put this together, but if you have Sam Raimi directing Doctor Strange, and you have the multiverse, and you have Sony and Marvel collaborating with Spider-Man, does that mean we might get an appearance by Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man? A true sequel to Spider-Man 4 or Spider-Man 3?
I hadn't thought of it till you brought it up, but man, I could see Marvel doing it because they're Marvel and they've just kind of blown our minds so many times. You know what I mean? They've like exceeded expectations so many times. And Kevin Feige just seems like such an incredibly intelligent person that understands what fans want and what excites them. I just could totally see it.
My head would literally come off and explode.
Oh,
I would lose my fucking mind.
Oh yes, it would break my brain for a day or two at least. What I mean? Like I would yeah.
It would immediately jump to my most anticipated movie from that moment until it comes out. Period.
No, okay. Do you think they're going to reveal that in a trailer?
Yes, I think maybe not the first trailer. But I hope they don't.
But I want it to be a surprise.
But I can see Spider-Man. I can see it both ways. I think I think he could have a potentially big part of the story.
I don't see that potentially.
You don't think so?
Personally,
I think he could be like kind of set him up for. This is like all setting up again. I think for Secret Wars, right? So
are you thinking that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is a key character in Secret Wars? That they like literally bring him back for the next like phase of movies?
I can see, I don't say phase of movies, but I can see them bringing him back in this one and then having a significant role in Secret War with Tom Holland or Spider-Man's Into the Spider-Verse live action version, have you? So I don't know. I see it happening. It's very exciting. I don't know. And speaking of Sony and the it's called the SUMC, actually. Their universe.
Did they officially say that?
Yeah, it's the Spider-Man universe of Marvel characters. That's the title.
Oh my God.
The SUMC.
Oh my God.
I know.
Horrible.
It is horrible.
Like Sony, just go fuck off with like you don't do superheroes well. You don't do them well. Just fuck off And stop trying. It's just like you're fucking copying everyone and you don't do it good. Like what? God damn, Sony.
Speaking of Sony.
SUMC. You sound like the fucking Marine Corps. No, you know what? Is that the abbreviation for the Army in Halo?
It's UNSC.
Oh, fuck. UNSC.
Almost got him.
But that's what you sound like. You sound like a made-up fucking regime of the military in a not-too-distant future of Earth. God damn.
Speaking of Sony plans and other SUMC movies, they just announced today, actually, that a new Marvel film will be coming out in the year of 2021. So it's a new film that's not related to Spider-Man. We don't think it's of course, can't be Morbius.
It's not. They said it isn't related.
No, sorry, it's not Spider-Man like
they
solo
said that?
film.
Have they said that?
They haven't said Spider-Man solo film because that comes out 2022, and then Venom comes out this year, supposedly in the fall, and Morbius comes out this year as well. So people are rumor is that it's gonna be a Spider-Woman film.
See, I've seen some other though. I've seen like Silver Sable.
That
being rumored?
Well, that was announced. It was called Silver and Black, and it was going to be Black Cat and Silver Sable team up movie, and it was going to be kind of the one that introduces us to like this darker side of the universe. And the dark side.
Okay, movie companies, can we stop being introduced to the darker side of universes because none of them have been crazy. Good. They've all been bad.
It's
like dark as in bad.
It's gonna be that and Venom and then Morbius, I guess. And I don't know. I was really happy at Silver and Black got canceled. I actually like the title of it, but I think like to me, Black Cat is Black Cat because of Spider-Man. But that's a whole other thing. We'll get to that later.
Sony, I just need to say one thing. I need you to just Google Suicide Squad. Just Google it. Maybe you haven't seen it. It's not a good movie. Okay. Stop all this Suicide Squad but Sony bullshit. Okay. Just like we've seen it fail. Stop it. Just stop it. God.
Speaking of other dimensions and other realities, The Matrix 4 is shooting right now. And we have set photos of Keanu Reeves on the set. And you know what? He looks like Keanu Reeves, right? He looks like he has the beard and he has the hair and he looks like a hobo kind of thing. And my big question here is, I mean, not really, do we need a Matrix 4 because we're getting one? So that it doesn't
as
matter?
Long as it's better than Matrix 2 and 3, we need it.
Here's my question.
I was trying to look
what do you think it could be about? Also, it has to be called
We need to
Matrix.
go back. We need to go back to the Matrix. It was a mistake to unplug it. We need to set the Matrix back up.
I mean,
what if it was like? Because I mean, I'm just ripping off the season 5 of Lost or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Like, we gotta go back.
Doesn't it have to be titled The Matrix Rebooted though? Doesn't it have to be? So doesn't it, like, now that you've heard it, like it has to be?
Or The Matrix Restarted.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, internet's reboot,
The Matrix
right?
Power Cycle. Or
The Matrix powered on.
Powered on. What? The Matrix system update.
The Matrix iOS update.
The Matrix 10.3.2.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Yeah. See, why aren't you hiring us, Hollywood? We're just
is this the set? What's the set?
That's an actual poster of the movie of the second.
That's what I'm saying.
Of the second movie.
Where's the set photo? I was looking. Any of them here?
There's literally nothing.
I know.
Right there.
This is it.
Yeah, on the left there.
How do we even know if he's in costume?
I mean, there's a camera in front of him and he's acting. And there's this guy. Well, if you watch the video, they call action and have one of the Wachowskis are walking, and then as she is walking, there is actually a flag, like a grip, whatever, with a flag over her to kind of block her from the light, so she can see the monitor. So that's how I know it's filming.
Okay.
But so there's from this, he's like looking up at the sky, kind of like what's happening, right? But he's like in regular street garb, and he's got his beard, he's got his hair. He looks like
just from that photo, I'm guessing obviously picking up with Neo years later, it will be interesting to see like in what way the Earth has come back from the wars.
I don't think Neo will be the main character at all. There's some rumor that Morpheus will be like Morpheus is like basically the guy who plays Black Manta. I think remember he might be playing a young Morpheus. So I don't know.
I think Neo will be. If it's not Neo, it'll be about Neo passing the torch of Neo to someone else.
Right.
But he will be a main. I mean, Keanu Reeves is hitting like a second wind of popularity right now in his career. He's super hot right now.
The Keanu-sance.
Which is really, I guess, all thanks to John Wick.
It is.
Basically.
Yeah. I mean, John Wick's. Have you seen John Wick 1, 2, and 3?
I heard it's amazing. I want to see it.
You've seen none of them?
No.
Dude.
I hear they're amazing.
That's what we're doing next week.
Instead of Joker?
No. At your house.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. Can you watch 3 movies in a row?
Oh, I don't know. Depends on what time we start.
You got to get John Wick 3, baby.
It's so good. I mean, I want to see them all. Yeah.
They're really fun. So that was, I'm of course looking forward to them there always. I'm kind of I think like everybody else, I'm just kind of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If it's a good story, sure.
Yeah. And speaking of reboots and reimaginings, we have a trailer for Spiral from the Book of Saw, right? And it's kind of like the small subtext there. Basically, it's a reboot of the Saw franchise with Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson. We got a trailer and a poster for it this week, kind of come out of nowhere. I'm gonna tell you something. I actually was a Saw fan. As they got farther and farther into it, it's kind of like, this is just a gigantic web of mess, but I still enjoy them on some level, like trying to figure out what the twist was, whatever. But this one, I was like, man, this looks kind of cool.
It looked great. Like I wouldn't say I'm a Saw fan. Like I watched the first couple only on TV because I was like scared. Like I watched them on TV in the daytime, basically. Like probably when I was in high school or something. They're pretty freaky.
I think, again, when I saw the twist of the first Saw, if you haven't seen it,
it's a historic twist.
Yeah, the whole he's dead, he's there alive the whole time in the middle of the floor. It blew my mind.
It was. I mean, the first Saw did something for the horror genre. I think it was very impactful on the horror genre.
Well, it's James Wan, and then he ended up going to The Conjuring, and then Fast 7, and then Aquaman, and all this other cool stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I think. I read the plot, I think, of most of the other Saws because I'd seen the first 2. I didn't really want to watch anymore, but I kind of wanted to know where the plot went. And I remember thinking like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it gets kind of
what's going on here?
I mean, actually, I think Saw 4 or 5, I was like, this is good. Like, I love Saw 4. I think it's Saw 5. I love.
But yeah, no, I'm interested. I mean, I love Chris Rock and I like him in serious roles. I think he does really well in those.
I can't think of anything he's really serious in. Do you have any examples? I can't. I was trying to think about it, man, because like he's like the whole time he looks real serious. His eyes are squinting together. He's just like, I'm Chris Rock, but serious now. Like he looked like he was. I know he's gonna go cross-eyed. He was squinting his eyes so hard. Anyway, I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like he has. Maybe it is just like I'm getting to see a normally comedic actor in a more serious role, and I do enjoy when that happens. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I enjoy it when they. Like Adam Sandler with Uncut Gems and etc. So,
well, real quick before we switch over to Chris and the Oscars, we had Picard, and we have The Outsider again. So we're at episode 3 to Picard,
episode 6 of Outsider.
Of Outsider, yes. And so, real quick, your thoughts on Picard?
Better than last week.
Think so?
Marginally, not a huge leap forward.
It's kind of losing me actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the only reason I'm still in is just because I am such a Trekkie.
Right. I mean,
and I just am invested. I probably will keep watching it even if it sucks just for Patrick Stewart.
If honestly, if they didn't have the word Star Trek or Picard in the title and he was not in the show, I would not be watching.
Oh, hell no. Well,
that's the reason.
Even if he wasn't in it and this was just another reboot of the Star Trek genre, more Star Trek, but basically like Discovery, I wouldn't even touch it.
Yeah, he's really the only reason I keep watching it. And I think, I don't know, there's just something about it. Yeah. I feel like we're just talking all the time. Like we kind of had a small discussion.
Way too much happening in dialogue. There's some iffy acting. Yeah. The girl that played, what was what was her name? Like
Rafi was her character name? I think Rafi?
No, that sounds right, but it can't be, right? I don't know. But her, she overacted her first 2 scenes pretty dramatic. Like it was hard to watch. I was like,
it was just the
dialogue. It just didn't feel real. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel
even
appropriate
the blocking,
for the situation.
The directing.
Yeah, just them sitting on that rock in the desert just was like.
Here's a cool thing. I think
like this feels like a student film a little bit.
Yeah, that's the same planet. I believe that.
No, it's on Earth.
That's on Earth.
Yeah, it was just a part of Earth. He didn't leave Earth.
I heard that was the same place that in Generations that the one guy's at, the bad guy.
I don't know. I mean, is he on Earth at that point anymore?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I mean, I'm pretty sure she's on Earth. It just says like, it doesn't say, it just says like.
I guess technically he hasn't gotten space yet. So I guess he has.
Yeah, he gets to the space at the end of this
All right.
But yeah, it just wasn't good. And then even Picard, his lines were just very pedestrian and samey over and over. He just keeps apologizing, and then
he's apologizing, and we're literally learning the same thing over and over.
That's true. And then the
here's the Mars attack again. Here's a flashback, but is it an episode recap or is it a flashback?
I know. I was a little confused too because I scrubbed through the episode recap and I was like, where does this start?
Yeah, anyway, but the last 5 seconds. I got a chill when he's like, whatever course, and she like kind of laughs. And he's like, engaged. I was like, I went.
No, engaged was nice. Engaged was nice. There was some more action in this,
right?
So we got a little more information about the Borg situation, which I liked. It does seem like a lot of them are reclaimed. Like the guy with the stuff in his eye, he's definitely old Borg. Well, because they keep saying XBs, which is ex-Borg. Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on, honestly.
I mean, they're doing something with the prophecy at the end. That was some kind of prophecy or something was interesting. You know what I didn't like? The ship captain, Picard's ship captain, Rios. He's fine. I hope they develop it. I mean, he looks like a Riker-ish.
He's definitely an archetype, and then I feel like we got a little bit more with him when he's by himself with the hologram.
So was that him?
That's the same actor.
It is for sure?
Yes, it is.
Their noses look slightly different.
They're the same actor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wait. I was like looking at the nose. I was like, I think it's a different nose.
It is. I read an article about it. He's playing.
Okay. Because EMH, like obviously the EMH is the emergency medical hologram, and then the last one was the navigational. So I guess it was the ENH, emergency navigational hologram. Those have been around. Like Voyager made those, and it was a really cool thing what Voyager did with it. But yeah, I just was watching. I was like, "What am I looking?" Because I didn't think it was at first. And I was like, "Did they seriously cast two people that basically look the same?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But
speaking of people looking the same, we're another episode of The Outsider. We got more about our monster, right?
Yeah.
How he's duplicating people's looks, and maybe more mythology about El Cuco.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to talk about it's weird because I thought before we decided we're going to watch Picard and talk about. I was like, okay, Picard is going to be the show that I'm going to be hooked on when we're doing this podcast. And now I'm like, nope, it's now when The Outsider ends, I'm like, I need next episode.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm. It's a bingeable show.
It's very bingeable, and it's still very slow pace. So if you're not into that, be aware.
I love it. It's very True Detective.
It is.
It's very. What's his name? Mindhunter, Zodiac, Fincher.
Oh, Fincher. Yeah.
It's very Fincher.
But
it's like Fincher with monsters.
It is. But what this episode really did was kind of address some of the complaints I had about the last couple episodes, where it brought our characters back together.
It did,
right? Which I feel like they could have kind of done a whole episode ago, but they did it, and now we're kind of the meat of the conflict, right? Like,
we only have 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 episodes left.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so we're getting there, and I think it's going to be it's just interesting, right? Ben Mendelsohn and it's interesting how like in the episode. She was pulled the fingerprints at the table, and he was kind of like.
Well, no, she didn't pull the fingerprints. Like she
was seeing like his calling card, right? His is the
leftover, the residue.
The residue is what we're calling it these days.
Sure.
It's just kind of seeing him like he's not believing, but he's still like letting her do this stuff. Like he's humoring her, and it's almost like I don't know.
Oh, I think he's in denial. I think
it's
to some degree does believe and doesn't want to acknowledge that he believes.
Yeah, but
because it's crazy.
I think it's because his big thing that's kind of making him do that is his moment with his son. Because I think it felt so real to him that he's like questioning things. Obviously, they talk about it in dialogue, but
yeah, I think that's
the
the monster wanting to not let him believe in it. I think almost I feel like that. Oh, because I think it's pretty obvious that the monster was the one that came to him in the dream.
Oh, I think so too,
and that. Etc. But I think to me, the monster seems pretty dang smart. And
he
does obviously see Ben Mendelsohn's character as the most threat to him.
Which is interesting that he's like attacking everyone else. Like, I don't know. Why wouldn't you just take him out? I don't know. It's interesting. Like,
I mean, I think the main reason, to me, the only reason would be it would draw so much more attention to you.
That, or here's another thing I just kind of thought of. Maybe there's something about Ben Mendelsohn's character we don't know yet that can help him stop him, or that
very Stephen King.
That thing about the character that only he could defeat the bad guy for some X reason.
You know what? He has a lisp.
There you go.
The monster can't replicate lisps. That's what it's going to be. I solved it.
That, or maybe there's something to do with the fact that he lost his child and he's
I wondered that too. Like,
so
if
much
he's-
despair. He's
well,
like,
here's the thing: the monster like feeds on
That's
sorrow
what I'm
or
saying,
tear
yeah.
drinker. Maybe because he's already sorrowful, the monster can't directly attack him.
right. I mean, of
I don't
course,
know.
the main thing of this series has to be about Ben Mendelsohn's character accepting
His son's death.
His son's death.
That's
and
the
moving-
internal
and mo-
struggle.
And moving on, which is kind of what my problem was the last few episodes, where we kind of away from him, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I think it has to. There's only something, you know, Stephen King. It has to come back about him and his son and how.
Oh, yeah,
using
absolutely.
that can defeat the monster.
Absolutely, it will be something to do with that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll see.
But
how it
in
goes.
this one did
Like,
pick up
I'm
with some
not-
action, right?
Like, I'm not afraid of you anymore, kind of thing.
Right.
Like the classic. Well, the It thing. It's it. It's
Yeah, it is it.
It is it.
But it's like it did pick up some more. We got a bit more.
We got a self-inflicted beat up. you
yeah,
know?
and that was pretty brutal. But it was freaky too with his like seeing his mom when she flew across the room
there by the counter. Oh, yeah, when she like Evil Dead's him.
Oh yeah. I was like, well, I knew it was gonna. I'm sure reason like I was new, but
Yeah.
even just like the look, like the up angle at her when she was like
Yeah,
beating him, and I was like, this is fucking freaky.
yeah.
But and then of course the very end, where what's her name, the private detective
Yeah.
is going out to the barn with him, and he
It was
bends down and she sees the bubbles.
Yeah, which I think was on. We think that was intentional. She did that to see his neck.
Um,
That's how I felt.
It didn't read that way to me initially, but I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it could be. I could
Gotcha.
see her doing that.
Okay. Well, I think we did it.
We
So,
did it. Now it's time to get over to Chris Pistole.
Chris
and
Pistole.
get our Oscar opinions.
Alrighty.
Mostly theirs because I didn't watch it.
And here we go. And we're back with Kristopher Pistole.
This was a great start.
Yeah,
guys.
Staying in.
Yeah,
Of
and
course
we're
it is.
we're doing the podcast thing. So we're here.
Trying to take over?
No,
I didn't take over. Are you sure?
No, we're good. We're
Okay.
good. We're good. We're good.
How many drinks of water have you had today? Because I know you don't drink.
I've had so many drinks of water. You have no idea.
It's going to your head.
Well, Christopher is here. We're going to talk about the Oscars that just happened this last weekend. We're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty of what won, what didn't win. Should we have a good lineup, that sort of thing. But real quick, let's kind of get to know Christopher a little bit.
Yes.
You guys know each other, right?
Were you?
Yes. Yeah, we know each other from college,
Yeah.
various social groups, and
Yes.
film classes. Well, just
Indeed.
mainly one, which was Wisha's
Oh yeah,
cinema
did have,
history.
We did have cinema history
and
together.
it was very bad.
It was pretty bad.
Oh,
I did not like
That
cinema
class.
history at that point in time.
and I got a very bad grade. Yeah, I think I passed with a D. Pretty sure I passed with a D, and I think I was happy about it.
Good marks. Good marks.
yeah.
So Christopher, what are you doing these days?
Oh, these days I by day I work at the Apple Store, and by night I'm a graduate student at the University of Central Arkansas, where I'm getting my master's in film.
Look at that.
So
Small world.
And one day I hope to have a podcast that talks about entertainment and media.
well, so what I got out of that is that Apple now sponsors our show.
Exactly. yeah.
Basically.
Brought to you by Apple.
They gave
them.
me everything. They give me these clothes I wear. They gave me, this haircut. They gave
Yeah.
me the
Wow.
computers,
They gave
of
you the
course.
haircut.
Yes.
Before Apple,
Did they give
you were
a
just bald.
computer?
They did not.
Okay.
Okay. Everything but, the necessities.
Yeah,
It's not- the perks aren't that good.
He wasn't joking about the hair and the clothes, but come on, computers.
So let's kind of get into the Oscars real quick. So, as we know, it was a pretty exciting night for Hollywood, right? We like to pat ourselves on the back.
The glitz, the
And-
glam.
Yeah, the glitz and the glam, and then the photo shoots and the big old heavy awards.
The booze, the
yeah,
bourgeoisie.
there you go. Exactly.
Bourgeoisie,
yeah.
I like that.
So let's kind of dive deep real quick into like what I would consider maybe the top 5 awards, and then we'll kind of ancillarily. Is that a word?
Ancillary
Oh, there you go.
is a word.
There we
but
go.
you
That
tried to
one
say
up too.
ancillarily.
Yeah, whatever.
And I don't think that's a word, but I probably tried to use it.
Yeah. So we'll kind of talk about other maybe smaller awards that didn't get as much attention, and maybe some things that surprised you or didn't surprise you.
Maybe the people at home really care about sound editing and sound mixing,
Maybe they do.
and they know what the differences are.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe people at home know what that is.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into our first award. So best cinematography. And if you don't know, Roger Deakins took it home again, his second Oscar for 1917, directed by Sam Mendes.
One wasn't enough.
What was his first Oscar?
For
Blade
Blade Runner 2049.
That's wild that it
With
took that
Denis
long for him to
Villeneuve.
get that Oscar.
It was wild. Yeah.
Very wild.
That was a year we were all rooting for him. We were
Oh,
just like,
man.
give him. It was he's earned it. Just
It was,
give it to him.
Yeah, it was like my favorite moment of the Oscars. I think that year actually.
It was like Leo with
with
with the Revenant. Yeah.
But it's interesting because this year I was kind of not rooting for Roger Deakins.
I mean, it was interesting because I felt like there was so much, but the movie is basically built around the idea of the one shot, right? So it's kind of like everyone was talking about it, and
everyone was talking about it like it hadn't been done before.
I know,
and that keeps. I mean, like I can't.
Well,
in some circles that are like at least they claim to be film people, and I'm just kind of like, but it has.
Yeah,
you
but
know what I mean? To me, it wasn't that amazing.
Well, I think the difference there is that it hasn't been done on a war film. That was kind of the big thing, like with the spectacle of like, action and guns and that kind of stuff. It's not really been done in that sense. It's been done in like drama pieces.
So what you're saying, we need to go to Hollywood and say, guys, here's the next movie, 1917, but it's a period piece.
Yeah.
It's a period piece comedy.
Well, actually, I said
you
that.
know what I mean? It's all one shot.
Have you guys
haven't done it
seen?
that way.
Have you guys seen Hardcore Henry?
Yeah, I've seen Hardcore.
Actually, it's like a first person one shot basically.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's a
Pretty
it
headache-inducing.
is headache inducing. It's
I
also
saw that movie in the theater and got nauseous and had to physically get up and move towards the back.
Oh, really?
Like,
Wow.
I need to separate myself from this.
What did you think? Would it surprise you at all? It was just kind of like, of course, it's
I
happened.
guess it didn't surprise me at all. I think it was 1917's biggest win of the night. I think
it was.
They got also sound mixing or sound editing, one of the two.
I think they got sound mixing. Sound editing went to Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't too surprising. And that film's been talked up and specifically about the visuals. I guess you're right in saying that this is kind of the first time that it's the one shot thing has been done on, at least for this scale and for this kind of film.
Right.
It's a big action film. It takes place over several locations.
There's lots of explosions. There's lots of
boom
crazy
Right.
stagings, and that is impressive. Like especially when you look at like the behind the scenes stuff. It's funny because to me the behind the scenes clips are more impressive than what the movie was. Like when you see this camera being pulled back and literally hundreds of extras running across the field with the that last shot where he's running across. And like when you see that behind the scenes,
That's
you're
the
like
shot they used when they like showed the movie off. At
and
the
like
Oscars.
that behind the scenes was honestly way more impressive just seeing it happen behind the scenes and like as a filmmaker being like, holy shit, how did they did this practically? Like there was no special effects to adding soldiers in the background or something,
Yeah, the interesting thing to me though is that this didn't feel like a Roger Deakins film.
It didn't.
The technique kind of feels like it overshadows everything else.
No ring lighting.
No ring lighting.
I mean, how could it be a Roger Deakins movie
That's
if there's
true.
not a ring light?
Well, Chris, what do you think? Maybe what did you want to win? I guess out of the nominees.
I mean, personally, I was pulling for The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers.
Oh yeah. I mean,
film.
it's a beautiful looking film.
It's such a beautiful
It
film.
is.
And they, it's one of those films that comes along every now and then where you feel like, oh, the director like really had a specific vision for how this should look, and then how that film looks really like informs everything else about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they ended up they were using some cameras on that film that hadn't been used in forever. Thank you.
I personally wanted Joker. I thought it was just, I love the lighting to it and just the way like you really felt how the city was framed around him and just him just walking up the stairs alone. I was like, this is beautiful looking, and not because I mean you can argue obviously that 1917 and Lighthouse are more impressive or whatever, but I think I was just kind of pulling initially for Joker to win a lot of things just because I wanted validation for what things I like,
Did Taxi Driver win Best Cinematography?
I don't know, actually. That's a good question. Yeah, we need to look it
I
up.
think if Joker won Best Cinematography
No one
and
knows.
Taxi Driver didn't, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
can ever know.
That's a question.
No one will ever know.
Taxi Driver, what's that?
Unanswered questions of the universe.
Out in the ether.
Yeah.
So next one, of course, we have the cinematographer. There's also the director that works in tandem with them, right? And so for best director, we had for me, I felt it was kind of like a surprising win, just because I thought Sam Mendes was going to get it. I thought like 1970 was going to take a lot of things actually, but we had Jong Boo-ho won for Parasite, right? Which is a really great win, and it's an amazing movie. I mean, it's like I think out of all the ones that's probably the best film probably at the Oscars this year. Personally,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
me. For
No,
me.
yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Parasite ended up taking home a lot of the big awards.
It did.
And it was really the underdog story of the evening, and I feel like that really, like, for me, that kind of transformed the Oscars and made it a lot of fun. Like last year was such a slog.
See, this is I've seen that discussion going on a lot, and something that I've been kind of seeing from other kind of circles that people are discussing things, whether that's Reddit or other places on the internet. And a lot of people were talking about
dark web.
Yeah, exactly. The dark web. That's actually where I live in town. I live in the dark web. But something they've been talking about is how, like, once every 4 years, the Oscars gets it right. And it kind of placates everyone for the next 3 years when they're just going to do whatever the fuck they want and just like stroke their own egos.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you could look at, like, I guess, was it 3 years ago that Moonlight beat out La La Land?
Yeah, about 4 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the last ones probably that people are like, yes, that one nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, what was the next year?
Shape of Water was next year.
Oh,
Which
wow,
was-
it was, yeah. Shape of Water.
Yeah, it's a little divisive, but
It's an interesting classical film to kind of win. It's interesting.
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho's kind of wins this year reminded me of Del Toro was taking home a lot of the Oscars that year, and that was a lot more of an underdog story. But it's also kind of a acknowledging of these just extremely talented and unique genre filmmakers that don't usually get awarded at these kinds of award shows.
Right.
It usually goes to a Sam Mendes or a Martin Scorsese, which are great filmmakers, but at the same time, it felt like sort of had a long overdue.
Speaking of Scorsese, like, I think everyone, I saw even a meme, whatever, but I was like, you're right. Everyone is just kind of talking about how much they love Scorsese. It's like he didn't win anything, but everyone kept commenting, like, you're my hero, you're my idol. And he's just over there smiling, laughing.
He's a fucking legend. What can you say?
Yeah, I mean, everyone just constantly was like just sucking up to him. And I wonder, it's kind of interesting. Like, he's there every year, so like, at least there, at least in presence, maybe not in film, but it's just so interesting. That.
No, I mean he's made so many inspirational films that have inspired filmmakers that are making stuff now.
I want to touch on one thing kind of that I've been seeing on the internet with Bong Joon-ho winning Best Director. Actually, I lied. I'm going to save this for the Best Film Award. That's what I meant to be talking about.
You.
Well, speaking of the
Am I in Joker right now?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, speaking of the Oscars getting it right, we had the Best Actor category, right? And Joaquin Phoenix was kind of a shoehorn this year in. A shoehorn? Shoe in?
He was a shoehorn in.
Yeah. So he's
a shoe in.
He's a shoe in this year
totally
for Best Actor. And I when I watched the movie initially, I thought if he doesn't win, I'm going to riot. Even that's before I saw any of the other performances.
Isn't it weird how what that makes you feel?
Yeah. And I was just
when
like,
you just wear blinders.
Yeah, exactly. they were really on that night too. And of course, when he's been sweeping, left and right, and of course he won. And it was, won't get into so much his speech necessarily, but like, of course, how did you feel about it? Of course he's going to win, or did you want someone else to win? Did you want Leo to win, or did you want?
Personally, this year I was pulling for Adam Driver for Marriage Story.
For Marriage Story, really?
I just think that's a really great.
It was great,
nuanced performance. And mostly just Joaquin Phoenix. He's a great actor. He's at this point he's kind of a legend, but this definitely kind of felt like his DiCaprio in the Revenant Award, where it's like it's kind of the bigger, flashier performance. Like I would have given it to him back in 2012 for The Master.
For The Master,
I feel like that's like his most significant performance that he's done to date.
I can see that. I think the difference there, part of it also, they kind of look at, up and coming actors like Adam Driver. He's going to be there for a long time. And Joaquin Phoenix is not old by any means, but he's definitely got some gap
he's
between.
Tenured. I mean, he's been in movies for 20 plus years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think,
honestly, I was thinking more like Walk the Line.
Yeah, Walk the
Line.
And
I feel like he could have gotten an Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
I was nominated for that.
Surely
he was nominated.
I think this is his fourth nomination. I could be wrong.
I wonder what he lost to.
But I mean, Adam Driver, he did kill it in Marriage Story. Like just his little, solo singing bit was in the bar was just incredible alone.
Yeah, the bar, and it's I think it's everyone's going to show that scene where he's fighting with Scarlett Johansson. But my favorite stuff in the movie is the funny stuff he does.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
The scene where he's accidentally cuts his arm while he's
with
the social worker.
I legit thought he might be dead.
That was the most horrifying.
I was like, is he
10
actually going
minutes
to die?
movie.
This is crazy.
So going back in 2006, Philip Seymour Hoffman won the Best Actor award for Capote, while Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix were both nominated. Heath for Brokeback and Joaquin for Walk the Line.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's go. We talked about Best Actor. Let's talk about Best Actress. So we had Renee Zellweger win for Judy, and actually, I have not seen this film.
I feel like I haven't even heard of it.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Like what? When
How'd
did
she
it come
do?
out?
Did she deserve it?
I'm trying to remember where it came out. She's really good in the movie. It's kind of a It's a pretty average biopic.
Right.
Who is it on?
Judy Garland.
Judy Garland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it came out probably back in
Judy.
That's what I was wondering. I mean, like, who knows?
It came out back in earlier in the year. Like, I
Yeah.
actually thought this movie was going to get completely forgotten, so I was kind of surprised that she was nominated. But she's really great in the movie, and I think this is the kind of movie the Academy likes to nominate
It's a movie about Hollywood.
actresses for. Yeah, and it's a biopic. It's a legendary performance. The character that she's playing,
Right.
real life Hollywood legend. And even though the movie was average, I think her performance was kind of enough to stick around in Academy voters' minds. Yeah, I'd say it's like worth checking out if if you're at all kind of interested in the topic, because she makes that movie worth watching. I think
I didn't watch Judy, so I don't really have too much to kind of stand on in the stance here. But like, I was kind of pushing from what I'd seen for ScarJo, because she was nominated for both supporting and Best Actress this year, right? Correct? Was she nominated for supporting also, or am I completely wrong here? I think she was nominated for supporting also in something.
What would her supporting have been?
I can't remember.
Ooh,
There's no.
we're bad at our jobs.
We are really bad at our jobs.
Good thing no one pays us for it.
That's true.
Motherfuckers.
That's true.
You want us to do it well, you gotta pay for it.
Patreon.
Patreon. Yeah.
We do need one of those.
We do need a Patreon. That's true. We need to kind of set up the ability for them to actually pay us.
I'll talk to
it's great.
Apple, guys.
I
I'll get
check
on
out
it for you.
Judy.
Thanks, guys.
I want to check it out. I will. It's on my list. So let's talk about best film real quick, right? So we kind of mentioned earlier, Bong Joon-ho. So they walked away with best film. They also walked away with best writing, and then also best international film. But of course, best film being the big one of the night.
Yeah.
I, for one, as soon as they won best international film, I was like, okay, there's no way they're going to give him 1917.
Same.
Or
Yeah.
give it to Parasite. It's going to go to
Yeah.
1917 now. And I was like, this is dumb. And then they took both home. So
Yeah.
that's very surprising. I mean,
Yeah.
It's never happened before.
it's never
An
happened.
international film winning best. I mean, it's a huge deal.
It's actually the very first international film, isn't it? It's called foreign film before this year.
I can't
think.
remember if it's the first foreign film. I want to say like The Last Emperor was technically a foreign release.
What is it?
Back in the 80s.
I mean, they're classifying
It
this.
is the first non-English
non-English.
speaking
Yeah,
film. It's
yeah.
the
Okay.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first, also winner of the Palme d'Or to
'Cause
win
that-
Best Picture since
right, 'cause-
1955.
Because
Oh,
how
wow.
do you define international? Like, is movies shot in England international?
I don't know.
Technically, yes.
I don't know.
I mean,
Technically, yeah.
technically, 1917 could have qualified. It was shot with like an all British cast, all British crew, and all Britain.
Yeah, I have no idea how they figure
what I
this
mean?
out.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
I feel like it basically means English or not English.
Yeah.
It's code for subtitle.
Yeah,
movies,
it's pretty-
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And so I think that's where
That
it's a
makes
big
sense.
deal, right? Because then
Yeah.
it's a subtitle movie, won Best Picture.
Yeah,
So-
it's pretty coded.
I mean, it's a great film. I mean, I just rewatched it again over the last couple nights with my girlfriend. I mean, since the Oscars, and I mean, it's great. I think as much as I would love, I don't think Joker maybe deserved it, but Marriage Story, Jojo Rabbit. I would love a movie like Jojo Rabbit to win, just because like I like that kind of
Sure.
the heart behind it. And I think it's cool. But seeing Parasite win, you can just it's like 7 different genres like crammed into one movie, and it's like basically peeling back an onion as you're going deeper and deeper to like literally to like this
Yeah.
crazy family. I think it's yeah, I'm happy with that.
I mean, I knew it wasn't going to happen, but like my dream pick was Little Women, just because that was my favorite movie of the
Oh,
year.
wow, yeah.
And
That's Greta Gerwig.
I was pretty
right?
disappointed Greta didn't get nominated for Best
Is it
Director.
Noah Baumbach? Is that his
Baumbach?
Baumbach? And that's Marriage Story, and they're
Yeah.
a couple.
Yes,
And
they are a
actually,
couple,
which is
yeah.
it's a power couple.
Yeah, they
Oh,
are.
shit,
they-
Power couple right now.
Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach.
Yeah,
Both
They were both nominated for Oscars.
for both
Mhm.
Best Picture.
yeah,
Fuck,
but
man.
he was nominated. I think he wasn't nominated for Best Picture, but she was not nominated.
She definitely was not nominated for Best
And
Director.
totally deserved it in my opinion.
Yeah, I know she was
Um,
the big upset.
But that's fine. I knew it wasn't going to happen. But yeah, in a perfect world, like the kind of like best or most relevant film of the year should always get Best Picture, and it doesn't necessarily happen, and only seems like once in a full blue moon
Yeah.
does it actually happen. And Moonlight was definitely one of those years. But but it's also kind of a strange thing that we do of nominating, a best film of the year, like so close within the year, because really I feel like history kind of has the last word on where those films will lie, 10 years.
No, I mean,
even
yeah,
2
you
years from now, like looking back, and it's like, like I think The King's Speech is a good movie, but it's like probably more people are like studying The Social Network or watching that rather than.
You're 100%
I
correct.
do
yeah.
love The King's Speech, though. That is,
It is
a
a good
very
movie, yeah,
good.
yeah.
I use that all the time in my classes to talk about like alt framing
Okay.
and like interesting like shot choices, because I think they do a fantastic job. But
Yeah.
I do want to bring up, now that we're finally on the topic I thought we were earlier.
There you go.
So I've seen this discourse been happening on the interwebs. Not a discourse I necessarily agree with, but I wanted to bring it up to you guys and
I love discourse.
get your guys' comments on it. So I've seen quite a few of, shall we call, disgruntled viewers upset with the fact that Parasite won Best Picture because it's an international film. And their arguments are varied. First of all, they say, why is there an international film category and a Best Film category when it can win both? That one, I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my heads around what they're thinking when they say that, because I'm still a little confused.
Racism. Sorry.
Yes, that's true. Basically just like the blowback that I've seen with people saying, what they've been saying. I mean, it's just...
I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably a complicated answer. I think I can see people being upset with that, because I think they're not upset really that Parasite's winning. They're upset with their
choice lost.
Well, I mean, it's not. They're upset with that, but they're also upset with the fact that they don't probably, just like us, really understand why the Academy does what it does in terms of like why do we even have an international film?
process,
Like, wouldn't best film be best film? Period. You know what I'm saying? And like we have an international, like you're kind of segregating international film. I guess you're trying to include. Of course, the whole idea there is that countries basically nominate said films, whatever, and they kind of submit, here's our film for our region or whatever.
Right, each country nominates its own film.
And I don't know. I think it's probably a complicated issue. I think probably ultimately boils down to a few things. Again, like they're upset their nomination didn't win. I think I wouldn't say discourse, but mine would just come from confusion of what classifies as a foreign international film. And again, it does sound like subtitles versus non-subtitles.
It's very semantics driven.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, there is that process of each country. I guess I wonder how big your country has to be, or what qualifies your country to get allowed to send a movie to the, or maybe anybody can. I don't know.
Yeah.
But each country sends their own. So I guess that is the difference, in that the countries are nominating one film from within their own, industry. And so Bong Joon-ho or anybody, no one has power over South Korea deciding to nominate Parasite. South Korea decided that. Right. So like, and if it's the best film out of all the films, you can't give it to another one because you're giving this one a different award. Like that's not good.
It's definitely the Academy trying to like skewer their own sort of known biases, or at least like they're acknowledging their own sort of limitations or biases. Like, I mean, if there was no international film category, it'd be very kind of rare, just because of the climate of the Academy and where it is and how it works, that we'd rarely see a foreign film win Best Picture. Like obviously we have. So there's kind of like that need to create a foreign film category so that we can at least kind of acknowledge and give voice to these other films. I mean, the same reason there was no animated feature film award till I want to say post. It was post Beauty and the Beast, because Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Film in 1991, and it didn't win.
I'm still holding out for my Stuntman Academy Award, which Brad Pitt kind of gave some love to actually at his little
that was very nice. And
speech.
Animation is not a genre, foreign film is not a genre, so it's kind of strange that these films get their own sort of subcategories. But I think it's kind of a way of.
You don't think animation? I guess it's a type of
a
film.
Style. I would say it's a style
versus
it's an art
genre.
Because I mean, you can do horror animation, comedy animation, drama animation.
Yeah, it's an art
animation.
form. You could do any genre with animation. It's just another way of making a film.
Cool. Yeah. So we talked about all the, I would consider again the big five. Is there any, Chris, that you thought that, I don't know, that really upset you? Say example production design, or for me, like example best adaptive screenplay. I was really like pleasantly surprised that Taika walked away with Best Adapted for Jojo Rabbit, just because I just love the movie so much. Not sure it deserved it, but I just loved it, so that's why I wanted to win.
I think this was actually this was a fantastic year. I thought, like, I mean, even though I was saying I wish Little Women had gotten a little bit more recognition, it did win Best Costume, so at least it walked away with something. As problematic or as kind of muddled, I think a film like Joker is, that it got acknowledgement for its
best score
for female composer, and that was really nice to see.
Yeah, first solo composer for a female.
I think everybody at the party that I was at watching the Oscars was kind of down on Joaquin Phoenix when they announced him, but then as soon as he started kind of talking and giving his speech, you're kind of like, how can you be mad at this guy? Like he's using his platform to kind of put his heart out there and he ended up giving like one of the most moving, I think, speeches.
Well, since you bring it up, do you think that Academy winners should use their time, so to speak, on the stage to voice concerns and to relay a message, or should they, as some people say, accept your award and go sit down and thank your mom and dad and that kind of stuff?
I think it's their moment, and they've been working their entire lives to get there, and they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Gotcha. That's a good answer.
That's a fair argument.
It's a fair argument.
Though, I mean, I see both sides to it. Though. I mean, I do see the Ricky Gervais side of it. Where it's like most people that have these pretty speeches are some most hypocritical fucking people. Not that we all are, but at least I admit it.
Yeah.
Right? Like
that kind of comes with the business of Hollywood in general.
Right.
I mean,
but does it have to?
Filled with millionaires, basically.
But does it have to? I mean, again, like the things he was bringing, like Jeffrey Epstein. Like these things that were big deals that everyone knew about that didn't talk about. It's like there is some hypocrisy there, and I do understand the people thinking like, why are these people giving a moral lesson to anyone? Now, that doesn't mean I think they shouldn't say it. I think they should, because honestly, in the end, none of us can know if any of them are hypocrite or how hypocritical they are, unless we knew their private life. But I do understand people that are like, don't want to get lectured by Hollywood. I get that kind of feeling, that sentiment for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does seem like, as much as I, like movies and everything else and filmmaking, Hollywood in general, it does feel like Hollywood is, if there's one group that you don't want to talk about, career advancement in an inappropriate way, it's probably Hollywood, and like they've probably done a lot of bad things over the last 20, 30 years. And it's probably, and then it's like them also coming back now and like basically being, and I don't mean this in a derogative way, but like social justice warriors, I'm going to say that term, but like, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean,
but that's also kind of looking at Hollywood as a collective and not as like a kind of a thing that is made up of, at the end of the day, individuals who all have their own like personal feelings and personal kind of ideas and goals. And who's to say how many of them are, sincere and how many?
It's something that Daniel said, and I agree with. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's impossible to kind of dissect one from the other, and that's kind of the you kind of just kind of pull back then and be like, okay, well, whatever. But again, I don't know, it's interesting. I think there's it's not black and white. It's a little gray.
And I do also like realize that like platforms comes with like responsibilities, right? Like as we know, great power comes with great responsibility, and platforms are powerful. That was Batman. That's true. And
I'll murder both of you.
That's what he says right after he kills his parents.
Man, the Joker stands are all really going to come after me now.
You should check it out.
Proceed.
Anyway, yeah. Okay. But I get like if I have a platform at that level someday, we're about halfway there with this podcast, to be honest.
I mean, we're kind of doing it right now. I guess we're just fucking hypocrites.
I mean, we are, but I'm not trying to tell people how to live their lives.
Stop global warming.
Other than saying, give us money.
And
but to that point, I don't care. Give me money.
Right.
What don't you understand? And give us money.
5-star reviews.
Now. Okay. But I do get, like, if I ever was at that platform, if I ever got to stand on a stage and speak to millions of people, I think I would feel a little bit of like I have an opportunity to potentially do something good. I mean, if Joaquin's speech helped one person come to some kind of action or turn in their mind to, make the world a better place, then I don't see how you can argue it was bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of merit in that, and it's again, I think it's, I don't know, it's interesting topic for say the least. Well, guys, we're kind of wrapping up here on our episode. Real quick, Chris, any real quick final thoughts on this year's Oscars? Where's it kind of, you haven't been, there were 92 years in, you've only been there probably about 20 so Oscars now, 30 or so Oscars.
You're 30, right?
I am 30.
You've probably been only watching for about 20 years, maybe watching your entire life, I don't know. But how do you feel?
I don't think I actually even started watching until like I was in college.
There you go. Well, so how'd you feel this year about it overall?
Like I said, I thought this year was really, really good and satisfying. I was so excited to see Taika Waititi win. I've been a huge fan of his for a long time.
He's one of my favorite filmmakers and actors.
Yeah.
Like, and I also think he's one of the like particular guys that I could see him being casted in something as quickly as I could see him direct something.
Oh yeah.
And I don't feel like I can't remember a director like that right now. Like someone that can act that well and that
Bradley Cooper. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Are you
A Star is Born?
if you're referencing that, oh, I know he directed A Star is Born, and I didn't like that movie.
Of course you did.
You heard it here first. I didn't like it.
I thought it was fine. One thing, actually, the thing that bummed me out the most is there wasn't a big like movie montage for the year.
Yeah, they've kind of been going less and less on the montages. I feel like the ceremony went a little over this year.
It did go over. I think actually they cut it. I think it's what happened. I don't know why.
Yeah,
they had one montage for music, but they didn't have like for the movies. And to me, that's my favorite part. I get all goosebumpy.
I completely agree.
I think it's like seeing the movies and then they show like older films too, and you're like, just I love movies and like it's so powerful.
They need to cut out the celebrity sort of like they need to cut out the celebrity banter. And just do like at least an hour spread over of montages.
Yeah, I love it. It just makes me feel good inside about movies in general and just the culture of it and how it brings us together.
I'll have to send you some good YouTube montages.
Oh yeah, please. There's like one that like 2 years ago. I still watch every now and then. Like
I think we need a new show where you guys just review movie montages.
I'd be okay. That's the title of the podcast.
You just movie montage,
movie montage
in review.
There you go, in review.
But no, I thought this year was there was so many highs throughout the night and very few lows for me, which after last year, which kind of ended on a huge what the fuck.
Right.
It was really welcome. So hopefully it's not like a pendulum and next year we won't have another like
crazy thing.
I guess it depends
Great
on what
American
movies come out this year.
That's
Best
true.
picture.
Well, Daniel, real quick, how can our listeners write in and basically destroy our thoughts and comments on the Oscars?
Yes, they can write in and tell us every way we were wrong by going to bit.ly/241mail. That's bit.ly/241mail.
And of course, if you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, it's at podcast241. Of course,
don't add us.
Don't.
But actually, please add us. Please add us in every post you make. You don't even talk about us. Just be like, I had a great day at lunch at podcast241.
There you go. And
just plug us.
And if you're on your lunch break, also watch us on YouTube. And if you're not doing that, then please listen to us on iTunes.
Is Letterboxd a social media platform now?
Yes.
Is it always been?
Yes.
Yeah, I love Letterboxd.
Follow me on Letterboxd.
How many movies?
I'm addicted to Letterboxd.
I don't have an account.
How many movies are you watched so far, Chris?
Okay, so here's how I use Letterboxd. So I didn't go through when I created an account and just like hit like watched on every single thing I've ever seen. I kind of started like from the day that I started my account. So it's kind of like from my account.
It's like a record.
It's like up to, it's been 3 years. So it's up to like.
Probably about 300
maybe? 1,400 maybe?
1,400?
In 3 years?
Hold on.
He does watch a lot of movies.
Jesus.
I mean, like every night. By the way, I stayed on his couch in LA for a summer. And every night, all we did was watch movies.
So about 3 years, I've logged 1,300.
Dang.
59.
That's a pretty good precedent.
Follow me on Letterboxd. I like to make lists.
Yeah, no, I do too. I just cracked 2,300 is what I cracked, and that's like me going back and like nitty gritty. And I only count it if I know for a fact I can recall the whole movie, like the movie itself. Like there's probably a good couple hundred. I'm sitting there like I know I've seen that, but I can't tell you what happens.
The kind of like I feel like niche of Letterboxd is who can make the funniest review. And then that
does that kind of go viral on the side?
Yeah, it kind of goes viral, and then
for all like 50
that's
users.
kind of also the entertainment
50 users.
That's kind of like the entertainment value of it too. It's
Gotcha.
just like look through a certain movie's reviews to find the funniest one.
Gotcha.
No,
if you want to leave us a review on Letterboxd or add me or Chris on there,
we have to make a movie first.
Please do that.
Link right there. Is that? Do y'all do that?
No, I like to make it float around the screen like a
Am I touching
DVD.
it right now?
So I'm pointing at
No,
it to
no.
nothing like an asshole.
Guys, I referenced the link like 3 minutes ago.
That's true.
It's not on screen right now.
That's true.
Just pretend I was dancing the whole
Anyway,
time.
Chris, how can our followers follow you?
Oh, you can follow me on the tweeties, on the Twitters.
What's your at?
What's your
My at is very complicated and confusing.
Go for it.
It's at Chris Pistole
Can you spell it for
with a
us?
K, right?
with a K.
At Chris Pistole. How do you spell pistol?
Pistole.
There you go.
Like Pistole.
Right there. Right
Are you Italian
Pistole.
by heritage in some way?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
What I am.
All
Yeah,
right.
well, expect at least 5,000 followers just from
Oh
this
my
episode.
God.
So,
Yep.
cheers to that.
Have fun going through your Instagram.
This thing would come.
Well, guys, I think we did it. We'll be back next week for another baby cast of Joker. Daniel will be finally watching it. We'll discuss Joaquin's win and maybe why he deserved it. Why he
Joaquin's
did
win. Can we
You're gonna-
find some more
Joaquin's
alliteration
win.
there?
you go.
Joaquin's wondrous
You guys-
win.
so you're gonna-
Joaquin's wondrous win.
You're gonna pair that with the King of Comedy, right?
Of course, yeah.
Perfect double
Yeah,
feature.
but double feature there. And Taxi Driver to go with it. Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, both Robert De Niro movies would be great. And so we'll do that. And we'll have another episode later in the week for you as well. And if you haven't, go check out our episode of Birds of Prey that just dropped this week. Where I review a lot of things. Where I review that as well. And then, of course, we'll be having more guests, more people, more of Daniel and Donovan as we progresses. And my name is Donovan Thompson.
I am Daniel Wingfield.
I am Frank Thompson. Chris Pistole.
And we have spoken.